Article 101 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda empowers the office of the President to make an annual accountability to the people of Uganda. This is a legal obligation, and as of yesterday, the President fulfilled that obligation. He gave the country the state of the nation, and so many sectors were tapped: security, healthcare, education, infrastructure, among others. Today, the Youth Roundtable convenes once again to discuss and explore, was there something for the young people? What were the young people expecting? But above all, what should have really been the point that the country should be taking from now henceforward? We know, of course, the economic status that we are going through as a country. Security is equally wanting, among its other sectors. So today, the Youth Roundtable is, of course, joined by a panel of distinguished lady and 3 gentlemen that I shall introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Youth Roundtable. To my extreme left, which is, of course, your right, is Comrade Macxzzon Muhwezi. Macxzzon Muhwezi is a political scientist by training. He is equally a member of the National Resistance Movement Youth League. Comrade Macxzzon, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to once again have the opportunity to be hosted here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always amazing to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next to Comrade Macxzzon is a good friend of mine, Comrade Okot Sam Olaa. Okot Sam is a recently graduated lawyer from Makerere University, but I know that he has interest around minerals and things that are usually underground, underneath. Sam, many thanks for joining us.
Positive interest.
You're welcome.
Yes, Sam.
Yes.
Say hello to our viewers this afternoon.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here to deliberate with this amazing panel today. Looking forward.
I like the suspender.
Thank you.
What is missing is the cape, and you'd be like a Peaky Blinder.
No, this is the Ugandan version.
Peaky Blinder.
The economy is tight, so we couldn't get caps.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Next to Sam and in between us here is Comrade Hadijah Mutesi. Hadijah is a student leader at Makerere University. Precisely, she is a GRC at her school. And also, she's a proud feminist. She's a first-timer on the show, the only first-timer. Hadijah, we are privileged to have you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm really humbled to have given me an opportunity to be on this panel. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's always good to have new faces. Then the gentleman whose face is becoming very common on the Youth Roundtable, Comrade Douglas Onen, is a student of law at Uganda Christian University, Mukono campus. He is a very frequent panelist on the Youth Roundtable. Douglas, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Comrade Kidega. I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to having this conversation with this very distinguished panel. Thank you.
Okay, amazing. I will not betray the custom of ladies first. I'll just try to be ordinary. Or should I be extraordinary? Okay, let me be extraordinary. Macxzzon, let me just begin with you. What were your expectations from the address by the head of state yesterday? Your expectations, were they met? And what were they?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, the head of state exceeded my expectations today.
Really?
Yeah. You know, Ndugu Kidega, 3 African traditional parents produced different children, 3 children, 1 child per parent. And one was named Muhwezi, which means revenge. Someone who revenges. The other one was called Otafire, which means that if you stay long, you meet, you see, and you understand life. You see good things ahead. The other one was called Balibaseka, which means people were laughing at me. Those who laughed at me can come and see. Those 3 interpretations are compressed and converted into the strides Uganda has taken from a weak state to one of the most powerful countries on the African continent. Now, from the lame duck, 1986, to what we saw, International Monetary Fund ranking, Uganda 137th exporting country in the world. From the sick nation of Africa to the best democracy on the continent, that is Uganda. So the challenge is notwithstanding. I expected the president to, one, talk about the commodity prices, the prices of commodities, which is really a public conversation. He quenched our thirst. I was so happy with what he gave, because they are really realistic. Number two, I expected the president to talk about the situation in Democratic Republic of the Congo, to do with our soldiers, Operation Shuja, and how far accountability you give it to Ugandans because they came here. We gave them money. Parliament gave them money. They went to operationalize that money. And I'm happy that today he tackled that. But also the issue of Karamoja, insecurity in Karamoja, cultural rustling. As of today, we know the situation is tranquil, and I was happy he tapped that as well. But also some spate of insecurity in the country. You hear thieves, then you hear someone has been murdered somewhere, So he tackled almost all my points at micro, but also at macro level. He talked about the situation of Ukraine and Russia that has exacerbated a lot of global challenges to do with economics and prices. So basically, in a nutshell, I want to say the president has quenched my thirst as an individual and as a Ugandan.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, many thanks. Sam, let's hear from you. What were your expectations from yesterday's address and where they met?
Thank you very much. Sometimes I think the president saves his whole government because he was really elaborate with all the different sectors and showed a great wealth of knowledge. He also showed a hardlining spirit in him that hasn't died from day one. So I was keen always. My main issue is always market. This is why you are saying I'm interested in minerals, because our negotiation with the world is just about how we negotiate our resources. Your dealings with me is about how we negotiate our interests. And so where we are, rich or poor, is because of how we negotiate with the world. So I was really keen on what are Uganda's resources and how are they being negotiated. And he even went deep into his conversations with some ministers. For example, that one who told him we have $12 trillion worth of gold, but she's willing to take only 600 million. That's a very insightful conversation that I was glad to hear that my president is still a solid negotiator. And it begged the question that, the gap that I saw or realized is that while he's a good negotiator and hardliner for Uganda's interests, there is a gap. There's no negotiation culture within the Ugandan people. As in terms of training, in terms of leaders, and all these aspects, which I'll be very glad to discuss later. What does it take for Uganda to build a culture of negotiation within locally, but also internationally? So that's something that I'll be diving more into, because trust me, once we manage to negotiate gold, coffee, everything well with the world, it spills into health, education, and everything else. So it's very good to tackle the big problems first. Because even if you tackle a small problem, it will take your time. So let us face the real problems and learn how to stand for ourselves. So I was really happy to hear that hardlining perspective from him. But I think we can work together to build a culture where his ideas and his attitude is entrenched within leadership, but also young people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Hadijah, what were your expectations from the address and where they met?
Sincerely speaking, my expectations were met to a smaller extent.
To a smaller extent, okay?
Yeah. As a youth, I expected him to talk about unemployment and also to talk about hiked prices of commodities. Yeah. So he didn't give us the solution we wanted, we as youth. Yeah.
So largely, he did not speak to your heart.
Yeah, he didn't speak to
He
my heart.
simply, surfaced on some of these issues, but there was no tangible solution being offered in terms of maybe commodity prices. So to you, in your perspective, the president didn't speak to your heart, but rather he only touched on the surface on some of these very pertinent issues, and that he didn't offer tangible solutions, maybe regarding unemployment of the youth, which continues to hike by the day, issues around, you mentioned the commodity prices.
True that.
So is that all that you had expected him to address, or there are other issues that are more strategic to us as a country, maybe around security that he touched on, or for you, your interest as a young person is only around unemployment and commodity prices?
That's why I say that he met he met my expectation to a smaller extent by tackling the security part, by tackling the Ukrainian and the impact of Ukrainian war. Yeah, so that's the smaller extent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear from the law student, someone who has had the privilege to know constitutional law and to know how states have evolved. Is this address that was given to us by the president yesterday representative of the aspirations of the people? What were your expectations, first of all? But do you think that this particular address represents the heartfelt views of the ordinary Ugandan or the ordinary student in your case?
In the Bible, if you were to look at the story of Moses, Moses, people looked up to Moses, or the people of Israel cried to God for a leader to provide solutions. God came up with Moses. Moses provided immediate solutions. Moses was a leader. And Moses providing solutions was the people looked up to a leader to provide solutions. In a country like Uganda, where the same problems happen or present itself year in, year out, but the ordinary Ugandan would therefore keep on crying that we are still faced with the same problems day in, day out. I am not satisfied with the State of the Nation's address. Personally, the problems that we have been that has been surfacing in Uganda ever since I have become of age are still the same problems that are still in our economy up to today. I understand problems like unemployment cannot be done away with entirely, but we can work on it. However, straightforward, my expectations to the State of the Nation's address wasn't satisfied. The State of the Nation's address is to inform the ordinary Ugandan of the present economic, political, and social condition of the country. The president has given us, he gave a wide spectrum of that. But still in the State of the Nation address, it's an address that has to provide a vehicle, summarizes the accomplishment of the government, and give us plans, solutions to the problems that we're facing. As an ordinary Ugandan, when I sat there watching the speech, I asked myself, did the speech give me a solution to the present rising commodities? Did the speech give me a solution to the everlasting unemployment problem? Did the speech solve or give us a plan on what we are to do with the current economic status of our country? In the year 2019, in the State of the Nation's address, the president overwhelmingly said that our economy had risen by 1.4%, of which he even juxtaposed it with, he said it was only West Germany out of all the European nations that tried to hit a number of 3.4% increase in the per capita income in a space of 30 years. And then he compared it with Uganda that had moved by 1.4% in just a space of 30 years. But then the ordinary Ugandan would still ask, are you solving my problems?
Yeah.
So speaking as an ordinary Ugandan, I should say the speech hasn't reached
didn't-
my
it didn't
expectations.
tackle
And it
the
even
partnership.
didn't reach it wasn't the ideal State of Nations address that should have been according to what our constitution stipulates and according to what a real State of Nation address should entail. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. Macxzzon, let me come back to you. From the political lens, the opposition members of parliament, right from their leadership, the LOP to the opposition cabinet to the opposition MPs were not sure at the State of the Nation address. What does this imply for us as a country? Or is there presence or there no presence of no importance?
First of all, I want to first refresh the mind of my brother Onen here that this is not the first State of the Nation address President Museveni or General Museveni is putting out. So I don't know when Onen started guiding on what the State of the Nation address should be, but as far as I'm concerned, he's a Ugandan like I am.
Yeah.
And therefore, the Constitution guides or mandates, it capacitates the President to give a State of the Nation address. And State of the Nation looks at macro and micro issues. It goes to the politics, it goes to administration, it goes to the social affairs, and also other affairs that combine the society. You first look at issues at hand. You look at issues at hand. For instance, the President was talking about environment. One of the points he concluded with, the President was talking about environment.
Yeah.
All of us agree, it is a working fact that environment is being disturbed by fellow Ugandans, we ourselves. So the President to issue a warning and say we are going to put punitive measures that are going to scupper anybody trying to encroach on environment. And the one who then says that is not meeting expectations, that is very fine. Number two is that when you look at the United States.
What do you have to say about Onen is concerned? He's saying that he is a student who is about to graduate and finish school, but he is not certain of his future because the unemployment rate in Uganda continues to ever hiking. To speak to Onen's issue of unemployment, for example.
The issue of unemployment, we all know that the number one cause in modern society, number one cause of unemployment is automation. We agree that the growth of economy scatters unemployment. I mean, it scatters employment. It downplays employment in the sense that these machines, all these machines we have here, are operating or are occupying what an individual or a human being should be occupying.
But
You get
Macxzzon,
therefore, I'm coming to
the
that.
USA
I'm coming
is
to
the most
that.
innovative.
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
I'm coming to that.
The Silicon Valley.
America is 100 years, my friend. Uganda is just 35. But one of the antidotes to unemployment is having enough industries that can absorb. One of the having enough industries that can absorb the job, the available people looking for opportunities or looking for jobs. And you want to believe 1986. Now let's talk about facts. 1986, having 150 operating factories or industries to now close 8,000. I don't want to believe these 8,000 are really handled by foreigners. These are Ugandans. So we must agree that we are coming from the ditch up to the top.
You see, Macxzzon, you have to evaluate that number of increase in companies vis-a-vis the population increase.
Yes, it is.
The population is not stagnant; it is equally increasing. So, where are all these graduates
you see,
that are mushrooming out of these universities?
You see, the question of employment, it goes with the skilled, the same skilled, and those who are not skilled at all. You get those who are not skilled. They have not gone to school. Maybe they have gone to school, but at an average level,
Yes.
they are dragged to these government programs that we see every day at parish level, at sub-county level, at district level, at the national level. You get? I want to believe that Onen and all of us here have had what we call PDM, parish development model. It is something that is going to absorb each and every person from the grassroots up to the top level.
Sam,
okay?
Do you agree with that statement? That the parish development model is going to absorb each and every single unemployed young person?
I mean, we do have issues, and just allow me to widen before I narrow again.
Okay.
And we are, I was glad he brought up the story of Moses.
Yeah.
You know, Moses, while God gave him a vision, it took about 40 years for them to walk through a desert. And I think they had been in Egypt for some centuries.
Yeah.
I think this government is coming to around 40 years in power. And Moses, by the way, didn't see the fruits of his work.
Yeah.
So I categorically always distance from arguments that build Museveni as the problem. Because as human beings, we're susceptible to creating a problem where there's none. So even the Western world has funny issues now. Because we'll always create a problem.
Yeah.
Now, we need to discuss as youth in the spirit of Joshua. Yeah. And there are new concepts that are coming up. Automation took away a lot of jobs, but it's also an enlightenment. When there were industries taking in all the youth, it's not like it was heaven. It was actually hell. If you read about, Charles Dickens, Dickensian novels,
Yes.
industrialization, it was absorbing those children, but it was hell.
Yeah.
The factories, I don't know if you take some time to drive around Mukono in the evening. I'm told some of those people earn as little as 4,000 a day and all that stuff. So industrialization was a phase of human, progress that took us far. But now we need to start discussing about the future of work. And I like the parish development model because it's structured around family, the smaller units of society. You know what industrialization did was change all of us into machine parts or machines. And that's why robots replaced us easily.
Yes.
But a robot will never replace a family model. So I think ideas like the parish development model, which focus on entrepreneurship, and then things like in other sectors, we also need to invest deeply into research and development in all these different sectors so that we create new ways of occupying young people, because development starts from research. Once you give students in Makerere to research, whatever field, political science, law, engineering, everything, they will create something. And that will suck in a lot of young people. So I don't want us to think that...
And minerals.
Yes, and minerals. Because, for example, if you give us money now to research how to create chips, it will take us 5 years, and then we create collaborations, we create a chip factory. The world has a global chip shortage.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, we need to be open to, the future of work. We currently have a very big issue of depression among young people in their 20s. Do you know why? Because their parents were employed. I think around the late 90s and 2000s, the economy was really good, sucked in all our parents. They got jobs, but these jobs weren't building wealth. It just gave them a false sense of security. Now they're in their 60s, some are retiring.
Comrade Kidega,
and their children,
their children,
Just after you.
so most of them bought land and a house and an apartment. This cannot absorb the young children. And the young children are not being taught for, they are being taught for factories which are no longer there.
Yeah.
So we need to be open to the future of work, new ways of absorbing people. And the way you can never fail is starting with the family. So to answer, I think the parish development model is one of the innovations. And it should be really implemented well along the lines of family values that will strengthen Uganda from its core. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Because, Karl Marx was actually a strong advocate and strong voice for, family, for communism. So is this a communist approach towards economic development?
No, we are switching from, now we had, human beings, human growth has come from far. There was a time we were just fighting each other, killing. Then we moved to religion, where we say now it's either us or them.
Okay.
And the Europeans were killing each other like barbarians. Then we moved to the industrialized age. Then we had theorists like Marx, and on the other side we had the gentleman who wrote Wealth of Nations.
I keep forgetting his name.
So we had the capitalist but now the world is sort of coming to a middle ground. And
is that Locke?
Many have
John Locke?
Not John Locke. Many of
Max Weber?
not Max Weber, Adam something.
Adam Smith.
Adam Smith, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we are now coming to a middle ground where we are now talking about the purpose economy. What kind of economy works best for? And there are communist values that are really solid. You cannot argue against family. You can't.
Amazing. I want to bring in Hadijah and Onen, but Macxzzon, just 1 minute.
Yeah. To build on what he's saying, there is no society in the world, traditionally, historically, that can develop without going through 5 stages of development. There is no. And therefore, it is bad manners someone to compare the economy of the United States, the economy of Germany, the economy of UK, with the economies of Asia. Someone can just tap, or someone can copy, or someone can just get a point that can drive maybe a particular discussion. But to generally compare the 2 economies in terms of performance, I want to say the traditional stage, the pre-takeoff stage, the drive to maturity stage, the high mass consumption stage, Uganda is not even close to the drive to maturity stage. It means Uganda is still at the takeoff stage. It therefore needs to guide our discussions here like this, that whatever we are speaking must be hinged on the available resource in terms of money. Even if you dream big, because you cannot swallow what is bigger than you. You're not a python. Everyone here wants to own a vehicle. Everyone wants to build a house. Everyone wants to take the children to school. Everyone wants Uganda to be absolute. But we want to understand that 1986, Uganda was managing itself 5%.
But Macxzzon, if we cut down our cost of administration, we can have
that is
more resources in our hands.
That is also. But remember, you need administration as well.
Macxzzon,
When you say we completely cut,
you have very 5 good points.
Yes.
I'll give you a chance to build on them and to explain to our viewers. But let me first bring in Hadijah. Hadijah, you're a student, but many of your fellow youth who are out of school now, if you ask them their most pressing issue, unemployment. That is, it cuts across. Whether you, whatever party you belong to, whatever you are, unemployment is cross-cutting. Macxzzon and Sam are subscribed to the school of thought that the PDM is here to address some of these unemployment challenges. Are you optimistic of the parish development model as a silver bullet towards unemployment?
No, personally, I would suggest, I'm not well conversant about what the parish development is, but I have a suggestion. If at all the President of the Republic of Uganda decides to introduce the minimum wage policy, that can really help youth to develop and be employed. This is where me personally, I'm a journalist, and in 2 years I'm hoping to graduate because I'm in my 2nd year. So you find like Kanare Mugume, he's still young and he's in the field. I want to replace him. But do you think Kanare is willing to leave NBS at 40 years? Like, he's still enjoying his career. But if you introduce the minimum wage policy, this is where Kanare can part-time, you're getting. He's already in his profession, but also me as a graduate, Kanare can work like from, or can have the evening bulletin, and Mutesi comes in the morning bullet. Like, we share the same like we do our professional, but different intervals, and we are all benefiting. If at all a worker is paid per hour, because these companies at times exploit us. You find a person is working for long hours, yet they are paid less. But if I know that if I go to a certain company and I work for 5 hours, then I get my salary, or at the end of the month, I can go and get another job, another person comes in and replaces me. I think that policy can really help youth to come up and get job opportunities, because you find youth are really depressed, no jobs. But if we introduce that policy, really it can help us youth to go forward and to develop.
How about on the aspect of the skilling gap? Because some of the causes of unemployment has been that even the youth who have finished school, they are unemployable. They don't have the skills, they don't have what it takes to actually to do these hands-on jobs. So do you think that maybe the president could have addressed the issue of skilling by maybe proposing to introduce more skilling, more vocational training centers, maybe now at parish level, so that every young person at that level can have maybe opportunity to get a hands-on skill rather than us going by the formal education system? And
yeah, that's really good to to study hands-on more than theory, because what really affects us at campus is to focus more on hands-on. Like me, I'm a journalist, but you find that we really do more theory than hands-on. If you really want to do hands-on, you have to struggle yourself. You go in the field, you go to those media, you start practicing instead of bringing those equipments. For us, Makerere, like the journalism department, we requested the department to bring like campus FM so as to practice hands-on and theory. But all in vain. We have really advocated for so long, and we reached time and just gave up.
Can do it.
Don't worry. These days we are solving problems diplomatically, not wewe thing. But I think hands-on is better. And what I've discovered, if you go in those companies, we first do training, company training. Okay, you have been learning theory in whatever course you do, but if you reach in the company, I think they provide a training for a month.
Okay.
If you're a graduate, well, a month is okay. A month is enough for you to grasp everything and start working. If you're really in need, of course, you give it all your all.
Okay, Onen, let me come to you. Onen, last week I saw a meme, and someone was saying that it is high time these fuel companies included an additional digit for their price boards. Because very soon the fuel prices are going to have a sixth digit. Yeah, that means that we are about to hit the 10,000 mark. So the economy is, I don't want to say recession, because a recession is extreme, but things are not good. Okay, and from what I heard the president, one of his solutions was that they are going to negotiate with the players at the global scene who are causing the Russia-Ukraine insurgents. First of all, does Uganda have capacity to negotiate at that level? That is one question.
100%.
But then two, the issue of unemployment. I cannot leave this show minus us addressing what should have been done around the issue of unemployment. The president mentioned the private sector, that we must grow the private sector. What I was expecting to listen to after that is that maybe can we capitalize Uganda Development Bank so that the private sector can have access to loans, to soft capital, therefore they can expand their enterprise. But saying that, okay, let us empower the private sector, what do you make of that? The issue of unemployment, but also our capacity to negotiate on the global market.
Let me start by responding directly to the question of our capacity to negotiate in the global market. We do have the capacity to negotiate in the global market, but I would suggest that as a sovereign state, we also have the resources, we have the minerals that we need to see that we are moving forward. Comrade Sam here is interested in minerals. He knows in a few years to come, we shall be producing our own oil in Uganda. However, I would love to suggest to the government that the world is trying to go green. We are trying to have renewable energy. If we are to produce our oil and then we are to produce oil and yet the world is opting for renewable energy, electric cars, and all that, then shall we then therefore have the market also to supply our oil outside? And yet the world is going green.
We will.
Yes.
Some have accused that argument to be a neo-colonialism argument.
Okay, yeah, you may say so. We will still have the market, yes. But just look at the possibility of it happening. If it happens, then what alternative should we then have? That is something also we should have a conversation on. To answer that question, whether Uganda has the capacity, I think we do have the capacity.
Okay.
On the question of unemployment.
So we don't need to use the African Union. We can go as Uganda, say Putin. come here. Why are you from?
Well,
We can. Okay.
Well-
I like the optimism. Yeah.
allow me now go to the issue of unemployment. Comrade Muhwezi brought up the issue of automation of machines, and well, let me just have it in a whole broad picture and a big picture. You see, we do not go to school to escape poverty. We go to school to liberate society. So if we are going to school to liberate society, the aspect of us having honest conversations, we must be honest, regardless of our political affiliations. We are young people, and one day we are going to be the leaders of this nation. If we are to be honest with each other, we are going to progress. The issues of unemployment has been surfacing. If you're to watch the previous 3, or even the previous 4, the State of Nation address from the year 2016, 17, 18, 19, up to date, the issue of unemployment has been there and it has not been solved. But if every year the digit keeps on rising. Now, what does that mean? We are in a country with over 52 universities, and you produce over 400,000 graduates, and the job market only provides 32,000. What does that mean? You have a surplus you have a negative of over 300 and something unemployed people in the market. You brought up the aspect of automation. It's true. I subscribe to the sociological school of thought that society progresses, society grows. It's just like a living organism. We grow, we progress. And with automation coming in place. Now, let us first look Uganda. You said Uganda has not been, we're just still in the takeoff stage. Now, what does that mean? The president, in his speech, every year, he cries for mechanization of agriculture. It's okay. But how are people going to mechanize agriculture if they even do not have the capacity or money to mechanize agriculture itself? You brought up the issue of reimbursing,
Capitalization of UDB.
That would be a good suggestion. Now, if at all we are to capitalize UDB, we would have money for people to access to go ahead and mechanize agriculture that the president is talking about. Now, that would solve the problem. We shouldn't all the time keep on lamenting without providing solutions. Now, on the issue of parish development model, we have had other programs such as the Myoga, among others, that are more like, I would love to say, it's the same program, but it's just being remodernized with different names. And oftentimes it does not solve the problem. It doesn't tackle the core. Now, I love the design of the parish development model that is tackling the smallest unit of a society, which is a family. It's a good program. Allow me advise this government. Why wouldn't we again opt for a solution of using the human rights approach of the human rights approach of level of development? It's in 5. It's summarized as PANO: participation, accountability, non-discrimination, empowerment, and lastly, rule of law. Let us look at participation. It's good that you're engaging the society and making them get this money. But then the question of accountability. This government, we have seen, it's a government that is very extravagant. They waste a lot of resources on self-interest. Recently, we have seen Parliament is going to be buying ceremonial cars for the speakers for the speaker and deputy speaker of Parliament worth 2.4 billion. It's absurd, very absurd. That's wastage of resources. We are in a state of I don't know the proper word to use, but the economy is tight. I was on the border coming, and the borderman was telling me, soon we shall even stop riding these motorcycles because we do not have customers. Now, that is a plight of an ordinary Ugandan. If you're up there and you do not have normal conversations with the ordinary Ugandan, or use the ordinary borderman, you will not understand the plight of that man. You don't know what it takes for him to put food on the table. Let's be progressive. That is what I want from all we young people that are going to be leaders.
Fair enough. Let's be progressive.
Allow me conclude.
I would like to chip in.
If we are to account, empower, and do all that, now, let us have the issue of non-discrimination. Let the parish development model that you're bringing on, let it be non-discriminatory. Like everyone accesses these resources. And then lastly, respect for rule of law. This is a government that I don't know. If we are to respect rule of law as a student of law, if we are to respecting rule of law comes in many aspects, where the people who give us these laws also must abide by it. We have just seen recently making comments about bail. Honestly, bail right to bail, for someone to be granted bail, shouldn't be looked in a monetary aspect. So I would just love to conclude and say, let us progress, let us have solutions, and let us be realistic that we are an economy that we need solutions to the actual problem.
Fair enough. Sam,
Yes.
I see your hand is up. You have a concern, but as you prepare to respond to what he's putting up, I also have a question for you. And the question is very simple. The State of the Nation address, in my own perspective, is about accountability.
Yeah.
To come and give an annual accountability to the country that last year we promised you ABCD, we have moved this far. And accountability comes in many ways. There is the financial accountability, but also there is the human resource accountability. We have our friends, our brothers and sisters who are in Congo, in the Operation Shuja. We don't know how many have died. We don't know how many are still alive. So I think the president should have given the country accountability on our human count, our life count in DRC Congo. So do you think that the aspect of security, there was proper accountability given to Ugandans, more so from the DRC point of view, but also our own Karamoja people here who are dying each and every single day? There was no accountability given on that aspect. So the aspect of security, then also your concern.
Yeah, no, I wanted to chip in with, because you asked him about negotiation. So I wanted to give a technical approach to it. You see, scarcity is tough, but may not be necessarily bad. Now, that's a bold statement to make when people are hungry.
Okay.
But scarcity is like an empty stomach. Now, when you just see an empty stomach, you say, but outside, the guy may be fasting. Or he might just have no money. So there have been different types of recession. And since the economy got tight, I took time to explore, especially in the bigger economies. You know, the good thing about being less underdeveloped is you can study cases of countries that have gone through all these things. The US had about 3 recessions, the 20s, the 70s, and then there was one in 2008. But the difference was in the 20s, it was almost like a fast. The people were hungry but full of hope. Things are going to get back to normal, you know. And in the 70s as well, 2008 and up to today, it's a different type of hunger. It's a different type of empty stomach, a hopeless one. People are saying, but things may not go back to normal. Industries are not going to come back to the USA, you see. So bring it back to Uganda's case, you know. It's all about what kind of empty stomach are we having. Is it going to be something that will propel us far? You know, hunger gives you clarity. Actually, they say when you're broke, your mind changes. Your brain releases some hormones that make you very smart, very clear, very determined. So I think we should use this moment to develop more clarity. And one of the things you asked him was negotiation. Negotiation is a science. It's not about can Uganda negotiate with Russia. It's a science. And when the 5 of us would make a perfect negotiating delegation with Russia, because all we need is an international trade expert, a lawyer, an economist, a fluent communicator, you know. So,
and a politician.
No, and the and the technical of whatever field. Now, that has to be supported by a spontaneous support system of data analysts. People bring out information all the time. So really at government level, and I was really pleased to hear in the president's speech that he negotiates with his ministers the way we negotiate with each other.
Yeah.
The quality of conversation is not so high. That means there's hope for improvement in the way government negotiates its things. But I really have a concern about, and I wanted to come back to this, the culture of negotiation with it. I think all of us should develop, by the way, immediate interest in our minerals. Because because
the mineral round table.
Because the minerals, Africa every year, at least coffee, we are cheated by, we know the price. Illicit flows of minerals every year, and most from Congo, is $400 billion. Now, $400 billion can solve all these problems we talk about, health, transport, all small things. The big thing is our resources. Can we hold on to them? You know, and this starts it doesn't start when Muhwezi becomes the prime minister, which I think he will be. It doesn't start then.
That's good.
But when he was at Makerere, he can even tell us, I don't think they studied, maybe they interfaced it, but the technical aspects of how political science intertwines with minerals. I didn't study mineral law. I don't think they addressed that issue. All of us have been alienated from our key resource. Now, the only place I can become an expert is to go to the US, where the foundations of knowledge are based in Western exploitation of Africa.
Yeah.
So can we start this culture of teaching young people about what matters most from a young age, so that we don't laugh when we talk about minerals? Hours.
Yeah.
Good. And then I just want to
take that
conclude.
checkbox. Then the security issue.
I just want to say, when we have the skills and the capacity, and then we titrate it with democratic values of, freedom, expression, we will go so far. People who can fight for what they want, and these skills start from education system.
Okay, fair
Now,
enough.
about security, mostly, I'm not a security expert, but I know that security is the answer is, how do you feel moving around Kampala? How do you feel in your daily life? Do you feel secure? And I think Uganda, with all due respect, has done fairly well.
Enough.
It's an ongoing war. There are a lot of classified issues and all that. Right now, Ukraine-Russia is the world's biggest war. No one knows the exact information. Everyone is twisting it to their favor. So I think there have not been any bombs since we started Shuja, or since we threatened. I think that's a good sign. And I would prefer to deal in the consequences of the war for now. And then we wait for, I know there are a lot of writers here. Maybe Drake will publish a book 10 years later about the operational details.
Yeah.
But right now I feel safe.
Yeah.
And I would really love Uganda, for all its challenges, to at least maintain this minimum standard of security.
Okay, fair enough. I think in terms of security, we are progressing. I think I have to agree with you. Macxzzon, you'll have the last word before we go for a short commercial break. 2 questions. I asked you the political doctrine earlier on, which you did not respond to. So I will ask again.
Because of time.
Yes, I will ask again. What do you make of the fact that there were only NRM members of parliament in the August House? The opposition MPs absconded. They were quoted, if I'm to say.
Okay.
Then you had a concern. Then we shall take.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would like to appreciate. First of all, a very, very tiny comment on security. As far as I know, the Operation Shuja is not yet officially declared. They haven't finished officially. But the other day, we saw all commanders in Rwenzori sub-region meeting for evaluation and to do data analysis, background check. And maybe it is partly because the president did give details of and therefore we can expect it anytime soon. But also to give a comment to what Olaa was saying, I think we have done enough. We have done our best in Congo. We have stabilized households. We have seen roads being constructed there. We have scattered and obliterated the ADF.
And they joined the East African community.
Yes, we have had the East African community. Congo at the same time coming. Now getting 89 million of the Congolese joining into the East African market, it becomes a huge case. Now, very quickly to my brother here.
Onen.
You see, we discuss reality. We discuss how Uganda is, not how it should be, because it is not. And it is not, and it is not going to be. It is going to be. We are only following the reality, how Uganda has been, how it is, and where it is going.
Yes.
So that our conversations can be loved by everyone. We are on TV and we want people to pick 1 or 2 from such conversations.
True.
4% of 16 million people in 1986 were in cash economy. 4%. You can check record. This means only 4% people contributed to money that we use in public operations. You get, hence the 5 billion. Get the 5 billion and scatter it in all ministries across the country to run the entire country. It is not possible. So now we are talking of 69% of people in cash economy. The remaining percent are what you call abawejere. I think you have heard of that word. People who do people who work for the stomach. They don't contribute anything to the money that runs the country. The parish model, development model, is entirely and hugely designed and weaved to respond to the 31% that is still in subsistence economy, which does not help the country in terms of development. You get, so from 4% to 69%, if someone says that there is no improvement, then maybe you can go to other schools. But this is not the first time the opposition is absconding. It's not the first time the opposition is absconding. The other day, we saw the leader of opposition rallying members of parliament to abscond proceedings in parliament. But then the next day, they came back using the back doors to address the media. So this has been their trend. And in any case, they were voted by Ugandans.
Yes.
Ugandans voted these members of parliament to go and perform rituals in parliament. It is like sending someone to school. Your parent sends you to school. He gives you everything. He's giving you money. He gives you a car. He gives then he hears that you don't attend lectures. You get? So it is Ugandans really to judge who a member of parliament. And if I have always encouraged members of parliament, if you think you're not fit, or the parliament is not fit, or you think the parliament is running on issues that you don't understand, please resign and we declare that constituency vacant. Instead of going there now, if you don't attend the State of the Nation address, you listen to what the president is saying. Then you go back to the committee and communicate that we are having the prices are skyrocketing because of supply chains, the global war, because of this and this. Uganda is a landlocked country, issues around insecurity. Then your people can understand why we are in this economic situation. If you choose to abscond, when you don't come back again 2026, don't say the government has cheated you.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Fair enough. To our viewers, we hope that you are enjoying the conversation. And as of now, we shall take a short commercial break. And I always encourage you, don't blink. When you blink, you miss. But most importantly, there is a comment section right below. Please feel free to give us your comments. Let us know what you think. If you agree with any panelist, put your comment there. If you disagree, also give us your alternative opinion. The Youth Roundtable continues shortly after this break. Bye-bye.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
We'll be back from that short commercial break. We hope that you're enjoying our conversation, but also don't forget to do what I just asked you to do. But for now, let us cut to the chase. Let's continue from where we had stopped. Macxzzon Muhwezi had explained to us the political question and, and explain to us why it is not of much importance for the opposition MPs to do what they did. But let me come to you, Onen. the question still in my mind that lingers are the fundamental sectors of healthcare, of education, of telecommunication, among other things. Let us go straight to the aspect of the healthcare system. Yeah, you know, by now you know that human capital development is part of development, right? That for us, before we discuss how the economy is growing, how is your life? You know, are you healthy? Do you have access to healthcare? You know, if you're sick, can you easily access a public healthcare system? So the issue of healthcare, what do you have to say about it? Was it tackled in this particular address, or it was not given any attention? What's your opinion?
Well, we are still amidst the pandemic, and I would congratulate the NRM government for the aspect of trying to, you know, vaccinate its citizens, though I believe they should have done better. Yeah, they could have done better, actually. Yeah, you know, I liked the response to the pandemic. It was good. And
how about the prospects of us having our own vaccine, us manufacturing our own vaccine?
Well, that was said in the president talked about it in his speech in the State of Nations address of 2021. He said that the government should invest in the pathogenic economy. Now, the problem is we have very many good ideas that they foster every year. We are a government that speaks of we have to do, and then the aspect of fulfilling of what we have to do is left weighing in the balance, which is a huge problem. You have good ideas in place, and even if you go ahead and try implementing them, the aspect of corruption comes in. The officials that are supposed to make sure the resources are put into good use, the resources are misappropriated, the resources are used in a way that wasn't meant for it to be used for. Now, with such a group of individuals that are provided with resources, the government has resources, yes, and then you misallocate the resources. That isn't good for the running of a government, because, as I said, human life and our health has to be standard for the people in the economy to support and give to the economy. And if the people are not healthy enough to provide to the economy, then definitely it would not go two-way, because we work on a social contract theory where the government gives us and we give the government. So if we are not being taken care of in terms of healthcare facility, yes, the government has done good from what was then. I know the people of the government focus so much of the history. By the time we came into government, this wasn't this. Now, it's okay. But then if you have brought us to this level, then why don't you again do better? Because as I said, I subscribe to the sociological school of thought. Society progresses. If society is progressing, but your state of progress isn't as to the standard where you are now, then you're not moving forward. You're not moving forward.
Let us examine that with picking the minds of Comrade Okot Olaa. Okot Olaa, earlier on you mentioned the aspect of research. Yeah, and to me that has forced me to think about the fourth industrial revolution, which is here with us. And the world is continuously, even the traditional jobs that we imagine are being phased out. Yeah, there is so much innovation coming in. There is so much artificial intelligence, speak of blockchain, and all these fourth industrial revolution elements. But I don't know, maybe I missed out on that part of the address yesterday that tackled innovation. But what do you have to say about innovation? Should we desire to do more? Should we have maybe an innovation fund set up whereby young people, graduates from Makerere University who have innovative ideas, can have maybe a prototyping lab where they go and find maybe there are servers set up for them. There may be all these prototyping equipment. They go test their ideas and, innovate. So the aspect of innovation and the fourth industrial revolution, where do we stand?
Yeah, so I just want to, first of all, talk about the principles. By the way, these things of startups, innovation, it's not a 21st century thing.
Okay.
There were startups after World War I, the so-called Fords. These were startups, and all these companies. Canon, they were once startups.
Okay.
The most important thing ever is market. Do we have a market for anything you do? Even for this show, is there a market? You know, that is the most important thing ever. Then the second thing is the offer. What do you have to offer? And the least on that value chain is persuasion. Now convincing someone and all that. Now, Uganda, we're in a global economy and we have a lot to offer the world. First of all, there is all the agriculture, and I think the president addressed it extensively. But I want to talk about youth with skills. Now, the market for Ugandan skilled youth in things like business development, sales. Right now, if you apply to a university in the UK and you don't finish your application, you're going to get a call. But do you know where the call will come from? India or Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah? So there is market for certain work that we can do. And then what is the offer? The offer is that we can do it cheaply compared to Americans. And it's what led to the growth of China. Chinese could do the same work and cheaply. So all industries, by the way, moved from the US to China. That's why America now is a what? A financialized economy that collapses every 10 years. So how do we exploit this? How do we build this? First of all, we need to know if we are actually building skilled young people. And that starts from research and development that I talked about. And it doesn't start from university. Let coding become a fifth subject. Because coding is to create. To code is to create. It could be optional, but let it be there from, because kids can code from 5 years. So I think there's big market for Ugandan talent, technical and service talent, and this can absorb. So where I have an issue and where I want to negotiate with the current generation that is in power is, why is it that they're incentivizing the outflow of untrained labor? And then for us who are skilled with computer skills, sales, coding, there is no deliberate approach to make it much easier. One of the biggest problems happened this year when the Bank of Uganda released that statement. That Uganda will not participate in crypto and all these sort of things. And then Binance was sending me emails. Yesterday I went to a certain bank to ask if I could get money from the US, because I also run a company that serves American clients. And they said you can't get money through wise.com. So we need to negotiate on incentivization of our talents, because we have a good offer. That's we are cheap. An American company, for you receiving like $2,000 is a lot of money. But in America, they're failing to find people to give that, because people want 10,000. Imagine you're living in New York. You need about $7,000 a month. So we have a good offer. Now we need to open up the market and incentivize so that our young people can serve the world. Cuba does it for doctors, and they send back money. If an American pays me $5,000 and I'm going to spend it here at Acacia, is it Thrones? And you know, yes. So that is what I want us to negotiate with the current. Let them incentivize us, because the market is there. We have a good offer, and we can do the work. We can outcompete the world. Let us stop getting calls from India. Ugandans actually have very good English that can serve the whole world.
Thank you. Hadijah, let me come to you. You are a student leader. I have not seen Makerere University government students strike in a long time over issues of their leaving out allowance. So it looks like maybe government has made progress in terms of incentivizing and maybe sponsoring education at higher tertiary level or higher education levels. But the question of the curriculum still remains of concern. That we are still having a curriculum that is to many seen as a colonial, curriculum. So do you think that as a student, but also two, as a student leader, the education sector, do you think the president addressed some of the core issues of the curriculum? Because my view of a SONA address is that it should not be complex as you'd want to imagine, but it should address even the most simple issue of an education curriculum. So the education sector, was it tapped, and how was it tapped? Was it was it convincing in your own views?
Not really. The education sector wasn't tapped at all.
Yeah.
But what I would wish to hear as a student,
Yeah.
we mostly, okay, I relate to myself
Yeah.
because I do journalism and communication, but you find out that you have some course units that do not even benefit you in any way,
Okay.
or there isn't any way that is related to journalism.
Okay.
Because me, what I know with journalism, it's mostly hands-on.
Yeah.
But you find out you're doing political science, you're doing sociology, you're doing, how is that concerned with journalism really? So I would love us Uganda to set our mind off from the colonialism era and curriculum and set, okay, if I want to do journalism, let me go in the field, let me do hands-on thing. Because if you go in the field or if you go for your intern, they don't ask you anything related to theory.
Yeah.
They are going to ask you how you have come. You want to do intern here. What do you know? Yeah. Do you know script writing? Do you know editing? Do you know video editing? Do you know this? And you're like, no. Me, I was doing what? I was studying mostly theory.
Yeah.
And they are going to take the other one and they leave here at the end of the day. And where the technology is developing too fast.
Yeah.
Now you find that the person who can multitask easily get a job and they leave you. That if you know me, Hadijah, I want to be a news anchor. That's your profession. But they will leave you because they are going to take the other one who can be a news anchor, who can do editing, who can write their own script, to see that the income they give to the employer they can use one person instead of using many people.
Yeah.
So I would love the government to change the curricula to the subject
they've actually begun to
relate
do
to.
that. Onen, just 1 second. I want to bring in Macxzzon. I will give you a minute after that. Hadijah, thank you for that. Macxzzon, one issue that could not be avoided was the coffee question. And I had the president attempting to explain how Africa, how the world economy on coffee is about 146 billion US dollars, but then Africa takes them about only 4, something like that. So he tried to elaborate the whole coffee situation, but I think there was no nail on the coffin. Like, the coffee farmers out there, I think, are still wondering what is the future for us in terms of coffee. So do you think that the issue, because coffee has actually fed so many Ugandans, it has educated so many Ugandans, it has fed generations.
It's the leading export.
Yeah, so it is of fundamental concern to us. So what do you think, what do you make of the president's comment regarding coffee and the whole value chain system? Value chain, value addition. Yeah.
Actually, before that, he earlier mentioned that what is hindering our production, low production also causes inflation. Inflation is in the macro economy. It is one of the challenges we are facing. In this situation of economic meltdown, one of the antidotes is mass production, producing in large quantities. Because in the world, you either you have a good or a service. You produce, or there is a service you offer.
That's true.
That's when you're important to society or to community. So in this particular case, before we talk about coffee, I want to look at our common market as East Africa, but also as Africa. It goes to what Olaa was talking about. After mass production, everyone is saying commodities are high, but remember they're also limited. After, during COVID-19, production had been suspended, naturally and organically. Now industries must produce extraordinarily high. And after production, we cannot afford everything here in the country.
The market.
The market. Things are rotting in the markets and others. It means we need more market. Here in Uganda, domestic market, East Africa, but also Africa, then at the global scale.
That's true.
Now, when it comes to coffee, I think, like Sister Mutesi is saying, we're being inclined to the utopia, the coloniality of we produce to sell. You get? Yet there is much we can get from coffee before we sell or even after selling here in Uganda, particularly after having our own plants that process coffee. You process, you produce, you process, then add value.
Add value, yes.
After you have added value, you have what we call bargaining power and capacity. The other ones will come. For instance, you know tea. Tea had 1986, tea had been abandoned.
Yes.
Then the Chinese eventually came up demanding for tea. It is because our tea is one of the best on the globe. So the only issue to do with coffee and what the president is trying to emphasize is that before you sell, because what the colonialists were saying that our coffee is not as good as theirs and other countries compared to Brazil and other producers.
Yes.
So we said, okay, fine. Since it is not okay, let us concentrate on the domestic production. We first produce it, process it, have it through our plants, so that we can also get other products. We have so many products. You can get wine, you can get coffee spirits, you can get chocolates for system tests and other things like that. So I want to see, you know, I was listening to Professor Augustus Nwagaba and he said that if you want to understand the capacity of a country in terms of the economy, it is defined and measured by what the world misses if that country fails to produce. You get what I'm saying? For instance, when Macxzzon went to see Putin on behalf of Africa, I was reading the story and said 40% of wheat that we use here in Africa is imported from Russia. That is really, it is serious. Imagine Africa, 60% of our soil is arable. You get what I'm saying? We are not producing that wheat. We are instead importing 40%. You get? It is ridiculous. So the matter of production, the matter of indigenous processing, such we don't just produce to sell. Okay? So, but also, I want to quickly provide the 5 elements that can tackle unemployment. It is an issue here that has
Can we address that towards the end?
Oh, yes.
Yes, as sort of way forwards.
Oh, yes.
Onen, let me come to you. We all know Dambisa Moyo, you know, renowned global economist, you know, from Harvard, Oxford. She has a very interesting book, Dead Aid, and she attempts to explain how debt has actually led to the crumbling of African economies. Uganda hasn't been spared by the debt question. 23% of our financial year budget goes to debt servicing. Okay? So we cannot avoid the question of our debt burden. We must address it. I don't know, maybe I didn't hear well, but
we can.
We can. The issue around the debt burden that the country is undergoing, do you think it was tackled? I don't know, maybe my ears aren't as sharp as of a cat, but the debt burden question, I think, still remains hanging.
All right. Thank you. Allow me first start by elaborating on the question of the education. Yeah. Let me add on what my sister Mutesi here is saying. You know, with the education sector last year.
Sister, really?
Well, on this show, she's my sister.
How about outside the show?
Well, last year, the National Council for Education, they sat down and they came up with a curriculum that currently the people that are enjoying that curriculum are people that are currently in senior two.
Yeah.
Now, what this curriculum is, these our sisters and brothers in senior 2 study from 7 to midday, and then after that you go for hands-on activities for the likes of metalwork, woodwork, and all those hands-on activities. No, in secondary
Senior
school.
1 and Senior 2.
And
That's down very
yeah,
true.
and if you are to go to some if you are to go to those Catholic founded schools of the old days, the likes of Laibi College, Sacred Heart, you find those subjects such as
Pope John Paul.
you find subjects such as woodwork, metalwork that equip you with skills that, apart from the theory that you're studying, you also have the hands-on experience of skilled labor.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean for our sisters in Senior 2 going downwards? That we shall have a generation of Ugandans that are skilled, not only with the theory knowledge, but also with, hands-on experience on other activities, manual activities like metalwork and woodwork. But now what happens to us, the students from Senior 3 going upwards? The question now is going to go to you, the individual. We have boot camps that are being organized by very many individuals. I understand the question of we do not have the money to facilitate for those, those boot camps. We have avenues like YouTube. We have people who have learned how to code on YouTube. I have friends who have learned how to code on YouTube. So it's my plight to the young Ugandan out there. If you cannot access the boot camps, buy data. It's cheaper, and learn how to code on YouTube. So on the question of the debt burden, well, it was not highlighted. The president did not highlight the question of the debt burden, sincerely speaking. Now, the aspect of what causes the debt burden, we understand we do not have the capacity as a country to raise the money to fund our budget. But also, even if we had the capacity, we have a government that is highly extravagant. Now, if we have a government that is highly extravagant, that uses even the little resources that we have to facilitate, for example, buying cars that cost 2.4 billion just for 2 individuals. Yes, we understand these are highly respectable individuals in our country. But 2.4 billion could be used in sectors such as you mentioned of mechanization of agriculture. Put it in the banks. Let Ugandans get this money to facilitate, because at the moment each Ugandan owes our creditors 2 million. Now that is absurd that a young Ugandan out there who even possibly has no future, you now owe you owe your creditor 2 million Ugandan shillings. Now that is a question this government has to respond to. There is extravagance in the government, and they should reduce on the amount of money they use on fields that do not really need a lot of expenditure on, like putting money on buying cars for ceremonial cars for the Speaker of Parliament. These are individuals that already got money even when they came in as Member of Parliament. So let us reduce on government expenditure on activities that do not profit with the Ugandans. It's okay. We understand the respectable individuals in society, but we have more pressing issues. You cannot facilitate 2.4 billion to make the life of 2 individuals more luxurious at the expense of 4.8 million Ugandans who need the resources.
Fair enough. Sam, I'm coming to you. Just 1 second. Author and CEO of the Economic Misfit, that is you. And the question of the administrative costs. You are a lawyer. You've addressed your mind to administrative law, that government officials must be held accountable, right? So, and what Onen is saying is a legitimate concern, that we cannot be a country whereby we have a high debt burden, but our cost of administration is still very high. Someone was telling me that USA, I think, runs a cabinet of 15 secretaries. Ours is about 84 cabinet ministers. The cost of administration is very high in this country. So maybe what he's saying is, if we could save part of that money, then it could go back to the economy, and we could, and therefore we can lessen our debt burden and get the economy to maybe middle income status sooner than anticipated. So that question, then also your concern, Hadijah.
No, it amalgamates everything. Now the issue for me is about the debt burden. I think I agree and disagree. And I'm going to be an economic misfit on this.
Yes.
We don't need to have a zero debt burden. Never.
Really?
We don't.
It's not possible.
And we don't have to. Why?
We don't have to.
Why should we pay them all their money? Okay, that's I wanted that to get your attention. But the truth is, America has a debt of $90 trillion.
That's the biggest debt in the world.
Oh.
Now, in COVID, in COVID time, the world's richest countries also borrowed $100 trillion. The top 10 richest countries in the world. We borrowed 2.
Borrowed from who?
They borrow from within. So they are
Within where?
within the country. There are institutions like BlackRock, investment firms, and all these who lend the U.S. government.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they borrow loans, but do we have the same interest rates?
No.
They barely have interest rates. You know. So we have the world's richest countries in 2 years borrowing $100 trillion. It was even a white man who brought this up at is it Glasgow?
Yes.
Said, how can the world's richest countries borrow $100 trillion with barely any interest? And then Uganda, we borrowed $2.5 billion. Those are 2 astronomical, there's a big gap there.
Yeah.
So the issue is, we only have to manage our relations with the people because they also give us debt to trap us. It's not like they love us.
Yeah.
So we only have to manage our relations enough to continue relating with them, but not to clear their debt. Yeah. Actually, our goal of effective governance and proper administration should be to increase efficiency of the government so that it serves its people better. But the government only has a role of supplying public goods, and public goods is not sufficient in any country apart from the Scandinavians, which is still not very sufficient. To give you, the life that you desire. So for me, I think
that's where private goods
the volume of the economy is a better indicator of, and actually has more microeconomic impact. That means we feel the impact better. When our economy is industrializing, the farms are, we have better farming, bigger exports. If those are working well, you can even ignore the debt.
Sure.
Yeah, because debt is about power. Like he said, if your country cannot be eliminated because you hold a strategic value to the world, nothing will ever happen to you. The only reason USA has never collapsed is because of its strong army and the services it provides to the world, including things like WhatsApp, Facebook, and everything.
And its nuclear
So it's not that it has the best economy, but strategically it's powerful. And that's exactly what we need to do. So I encourage us to think more around volume. What is the saturation in our economy?
How about issues around widening our tax base? Couldn't that be a source of maybe revenue to the government and therefore
they say you cannot lift your, if you're standing in a bucket, it's like standing in a bucket and trying to lift yourself.
Yes.
So for example, right now it's very incentivized to move to Dubai because Dubai has no income tax. You see. So the tax issue also has to be managed in a certain way. And then we need a government that is alive, okay? So for example, in such a time of recession, can government say remove the toll tax at what's that place?
At Entebbe
Express. Let the government be alive. Tax shouldn't be I was glad that they moved OTT. After 3 years, they brought something else. So I think tax should be a spontaneous
Actually, the president said taxation is non-negotiable. If you recall, he said on taxation, we will not even remove a single tax.
Yes, but the government can be innovative.
Macxzzon, I think you remember that statement.
Yeah. The government can be innovative and sensitive in the way it taxes its people.
Okay.
Yeah, that is. But generally, and I would like to end with this, let us work on volume and saturation in our economy rather than worrying about the debt. We are not going to pay that 2 million and whatever because the Americans don't pay it also. So let's just make our country strategically powerful and we'll be okay.
You're like Bitature's lawyer who said that we have no one to pay to. So
no, that's a different case. But if we are protecting Sudan, Somalia, Congo, Kenya, so nothing will happen.
So also it is like you're saying that we have no one to pay to, so we shouldn't pay. But Hadijah, let me come to you. You had a concern, yes, your hand was up. But Sam, I agree with you because when you look at the structural adjustment programs that were introduced in African economies, the idea was to encourage us to borrow more money and therefore tie it up.
Actually, there was a man, sorry, just a second. There was a man who was nicknamed, I was reading somewhere, he was nicknamed Bajalimpa because he used to get so many debts and he wouldn't care. His only issue was Bajalimpa. Will they give it to me?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I want to add that to his 3 names. Muhwezi, Bajalimpa.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Hadijah, you had a concern. Your hand was up. Yes, I'll give you a chance to address that. But also, I read the IGG, is it IGG report that said that Uganda loses about 2 trillion Uganda shillings every financial year to corruption. This was a government report, not opposition. Yeah. So the issue of corruption in the previous SONA, it was addressed by introducing the sons of the revolutionaries as a means of addressing corruption. You know, there was some name that was given to that category of people, but this time round the issue was not addressed vividly. The issue of corruption. So speak to corruption, but also your concern.
Okay, let me start, I think, with my concern.
Yeah, sure.
My concern is about, okay, when the president was addressing yesterday, he said that, he quoted, he said, when people are panicking, I'm never bothered because I've seen worse than this. You're getting? He said, I've seen wars. Not knowing that some of us, we have never experienced any war. So when he's addressing in such a way, because of him, not because of us.
That is a good one.
Yeah. So I think when he's addressing, he should mind about us who have never experienced such a war. The economic crisis might be our war at our age.
Sure.
For him, might have experienced the war, but this is our war. So when he's addressing, he should also put us into consideration.
Yeah.
Another thing, my brother talked about extravagancy.
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed or surprised when I see the MPs getting Polish cars. Yeah. You know, you find an MP not even noticed by 3 people, okay, but he's having a convoy military, not even police, but military. All those people are done what? Are paid for. Then about dates.
Okay.
Yeah. What I would, no, I'm not an advisor, but what I can advocate as a youth, and yeah, I would, because you see the government at times, they get contracts. For example, road construction. You get a contract with Chinese company. You haven't even paid people who are staying around, like, or where that road is going to pass, but you're getting contractors. You haven't even paid these guys, So by the time you get the loan, already interest are being added on their own, even before clearing these people.
Yeah.
You chase away these people, 6 months you're not paying them, they come back, the loan is increasing. So I would suggest before the government getting any contract, let them first clear these things. They are ready. The moment they have the project, they are ready, and even they have already cleared these guys where the road is going to take place to avoid such debts and expenses. Another thing I was expecting to hear from the presidential speech as a youth, of course, I was expecting him to show us ways, or what has he burnt, what has he burnt for us to get to reduce price commodity. For example, like abolishing travels or medical tours, all that expense, special meals, all that expense. If you add it up, at least you can get some amount that can be added there.
Yeah, to cushion the economy.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I have been signaled that our time here is fast spent, so I'll give 2 minutes to all of you to give us your last words. But how I would wish that your last words would focus on the gaps, or what you wish that should have been a part of this address moving forward. So I'll begin with Macxzzon, come to Onen, go to Sam, then the last lady. The only lady will give us the last words on the show. Comrade Macxzzon.
First of all, the issue of unemployment is still a problem. But in 1 second, we are looking at having so many industries that can absorb the available people that are employable, that those industries must and need to absorb people that are willing and available, but also ready to work. The other issue is innovation, like we have been talking about. Innovation, so that at least you start up something, and through the innovation fund, the government or state can support you, then you do something as well. But also research, like my friend was saying here, Ola, research is very, very, very critical. What area we have not tackled is the digital economy. That the young people now are so much in the digital economy, online marketing, online shopping, online trade, online things like that. Facebook, what
should have been open.
Absolutely, it should be open, but it should also be given enough capacity, especially for the government and state, so that it can capacitate and absorb many people who are not getting these government jobs, those who are unable to go on the ground, those who are unable to, but also. So the other issue is
how about the tax on data?
Oh yeah, the tax on data. We shouldn't be having the tax on data. Only that we need to look at the impact of that tax to our economy. I always encourage Ugandans to think of where this country is coming from, which actually most of them don't want to listen to. But it is the reality, is a fact. The moment we jump it, then we shall meet. It will always reverberate.
Yes.
You get. So the other issue I expect the president to explain is the issue of East Africa. I don't know why today he didn't talk about it, but Uganda is going to survive because of East Africa, but also Africa. That is a must. If we produce 12 million liters of milk, and we are only consuming around 7 million as Ugandans, where's the other one? Where is the other? Then also, I don't know why today he didn't tag a comment on parish development model also. Still, I want to believe that majority of Ugandans have not understood the importance, the reason why PDM was introduced. And up to now, that's why people still rotate around issues of comparing it with the previous government programs that have phased out. It means they don't have much literature and vivid information about parish development model. And I want to believe that the Secretariat has a huge Herculean burden on their shoulders to explain to Ugandans what parish development model is going to do in terms of development, but also steering. I want to give Ugandans hope that what we are facing now is not a national issue only. It is a global issue. And therefore, we anticipate, and our predictions, what the president was saying, sister, saying that, but he's not worried, is that these are short-term issues. And anytime, because we don't expect the Ukraine-Russia war to be there for 70 years, honestly, we expect that war to. Then supply chains can start rolling again.
That's true.
Then you can predict that prices are going to come down slowly as they normalize. So you want to say something?
Yeah.
It is my time.
No, it's not just because she's the only lady.
Oh yes,
can be kind.
Oh, feminism.
Okay, you're saying that the war is temporarily. We all thought that Russia was going to win in just 3 weeks.
Not all of us, not me.
But now, how long has it been?
Not me.
So then say that the war is.
I agree. The war has prolonged, but our actual agreement is that it will get a time and stop. It will stop. But also, the question of dialogue. Don't think these dialogues are just meant for nothing. These dialogues are machineries to trigger decisions that attack Ukraine. So anytime, you never know, these two parties will agree to cease fire. Exactly. And I can tell you, America is, the other day... As I conclude, they asked Biden that, what solutions do you have for these skyrocketing prices? For him, he was so blank and said, I have nothing to do. I want to put that on record. So I want to say that I am extraordinarily hopeful that the situation will normalize. We are going to, let's embark on massive production so that we can galvanize and marshal market outside. Then we can get some money.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Onen.
Thank you very much. You are in the NRM League, right? And I like how you package your argument and make the NRM seem so, well, which is very good. Well, let me start.
Is that a conceding?
No, I'm not
Conceding.
Allow me start by first talking about your.
Consider to the parties
Well,
capacity to represent the party's interests.
I am just giving credit where it's due. That's quite good for a young person.
Thank you.
You talked about the impact. You started by saying, yeah, the issue of unemployment is still of great concern, and you made mention that we are still in a digital economy, which is, yeah, we are in a digital economy, and yeah, and there are taxes on data, but you said we shouldn't look at the taxes, but the impact of the taxes collected to the economy. But then my biggest concern and question is, if we are to tax these people that are just beginning, and then later on, within 3 months, they're all dead, or they're not providing to the economy, then what is the essence of taxing? And yet these businesses that are coming up are not in position to sustain themselves for the next 5 or 10 years. So we need to have a solution that is everlasting. So the issue of the concern on the impact of tax on the economy, it's good, but also we need to put into consideration of the sustainability of this economy, of these businesses. And then on the issue of us knowing the importance of the parish development model, or why it was put in place. You see, every time this government comes up with programs aimed at lifting people from poverty, they come up with very good programs. They come up with very good policies. But then the question of how they implement it, or even before the implementation stage, how best do they create awareness, or how best do they provide civic education for these individuals before actually implementing these plans? Because people are given the money, but then people even do not know how to use the money. So the government needs to come up with proper solutions to having implementation done in a proper manner, and even have evaluation afterwards, because we've had programs run but lacked evaluation afterwards. So with PDM, it's a good program, but I hope to see something different, not that was in the past. And then lastly, on the high administrative costs, we made mention that we have over 84 ministers, 84 cabinet ministers, and with a very high administrative cost of running this government, and yet we are amidst a high debt burden. Well, I would therefore suggest that with the high debt burden and the high administrative costs, we need to look at how we manage the limited resources that we have, so that we have an economy that is producing great, that we can, at least service some of the debt, because it's good money to service the debt where necessary.
NRM, let me also tell a comment.
So
92%, my comrade
Douglas.
92% of our ministers are members of parliament. So these are just political supervisors.
Well,
they are not picked from the public, that now you come, we have a member of parliament, but also a minister. So 92% are members of parliament. Ministers are specifically to supervise the political work of a particular ministry. That's what I wanted to say.
I'm not talking about the 92% being members of parliament. Why would you have 84 ministers who are members of parliament, but also who have lead cards, who are also facilitated by the costs from the government, which are our taxes, and yet they could just be members of parliament?
These are constitutional mandates.
They are constitutional mandates, but the constitution...
And you said we follow the constitution.
Initially, the constitution provided for 34 members of parliament until the amendments came in.
The amendment was constitutional
and then
also.
Up to like 84 ministers. That still comes to the same point of high cost of administration. We need to be honest. The cost of administration is high. We are amidst the crisis, and we need to mitigate that. And then in conclusion, I still stand and say that I subscribe to the school of thought that society progresses. Amid these all challenges, amid these all problems that we face as a country, there will always be, light at the end of the tunnel.
Silver line.
I would love to be optimistic, but where hope ceases to live in the ordinary Ugandan, in the ordinary me anymore, then definitely that's
takes the course.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, Sam.
Yeah.
Your last words.
Yeah, thank you very much. I understand the times are hard, but like I said, an empty stomach, you could either be fasting or totally hopeless, or in drought or famine. I believe we should take this as a moment of fast as a country, because fast always bring fast results.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's a good time to reflect, and also for government to move faster. The government has, I mean, if you listen to the president objectively, he has good frameworks of thinking, which are very important. You know, it's a hardlining framework and all, but then sometimes in operation, things get lost, like Drake was explaining. And so I think it's a time for government to incorporate things that they've been planning at a faster rate. Yeah, like I said, the culture of negotiation is something that now needs to be taken seriously, especially about our resources. We have seen how powerful Russia is. They're not powerful because they're democratic. They're powerful because of what they command in the global supply chain.
That's true.
So we need to work on some of these things. And then things like the parish development model. Now, there's more incentive to implement it right. The challenge, which he has been talking about, is instead of normally money flowing through, money enhancing already existing structures of a society, it has been flowing through lines of political patronage, which is a problem. However, the parish development model clearly states that this is a family. It follows the units of society. And I think this is an incentive that it be implemented properly. But don't forget that the most important unit of society is you, the individual.
That's true.
And you cannot blame the government if you don't take 2 weeks off to go and see how the parish development model. I mean, you guys are seen as gods by your LCs, your lawyers, but you don't want to engage them. Then you come here. It's really a bold assumption that you can blame the president. I find it a bit emasculating for me to blame the president.
Paradoxical.
When I don't go back to Koro, and I talk to the LC1, how is this thing being implemented?
Yeah.
So think of yourself also as a man. You also have responsibilities around you.
Yeah.
So let us use this moment to rise, and I think we are going to bounce back well. The thing is, bad moments will always come. That's a constant. But we can use it for hope or to be hopeless.
Yeah.
So I think we can rise out of this. But before I leave, I come from a field that is service-based law. But there are also my colleagues in journalism, in IT, in tech. I think the government should be more spontaneous with how we negotiate with the world about our talents. Most of the market for our work is global. But the world has maps. Now, is Uganda on the global innovation map where money flows? I see Rwanda trying. I see Botswana. I see Ghana has a very solid reputation. So how can our government negotiate? Because now it's releasing policies that kill neo-banking, which are things like Flutter with Wise. Then I think there's a concern. So it may have its reasons, especially around controlling money, FIA and all that. But government needs to be sensitive with these decisions. Like it made a strategic decision with OTT and then removed it. So I'm not saying government decisions may not be justified, but I want it to be sensitive.
More spontaneous.
Sensitive, yeah. Have points of feedback, listening and loops, so that we negotiate the generations successfully and also tap into the global market. Thank you.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hadijah, you have the last words on the show.
Yeah, my last words. I'm Mutesi Hadijah, and I have ambitions of coming as a juror South Africa.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
Africa
September.
Hall, Makerere University.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Makerere
As
is
Africans,
your-
we have voted for you. You have our vote.
yeah,
Makerere
thank you
is
so
your
much.
wife.
So me being on this panel, I represent ladies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is an agenda I've been passing in the 87th House that has not been fulfilled yet, and that is the construction of more halls of residence for girls.
The girl.
Yeah, it
You have three now?
came to our notice that girls we are 51% and boys are 49%, but the 49% are having 6 halls of residence. For us who are 51%, we're having only 3 halls of residence. So due to this hiked commodity price, you find that it's really hard for a girl to really survive in a hostel. And me, I'm already in the hall, but it's the 3rd week since the semester commenced, but the hall is empty. You call your friends, you be like, where are you? I like, we have, man, I don't have
call the
keep up,
voters.
I don't have no, like I haven't found money. No, I don't have tuition. No, I don't have tuition. I don't have what I haven't found pocket money. So but if a girl is in hall, if at all they have where to reside in hall, it's easy for them to come. It's easy for them to come and report in time. Yeah, I think my last comment, it's to the government, not to, if you criticize someone, they take you in a bad way.
No.
No, not in a bad way. You see what happened to Besigye when he tried to, to walk to hiked price. So I request the government welcome the criticism and see the way how to work it better.
Okay, Macxzzon, hope you take back home the message.
The NRM is always open to communities.
Wow. Thank you very much, Comrade Macxzzon, Comrade Olaa, Comrade Mutesi, and Comrade Drake Onen for the time that you spared to be on the show. To the producers, it's always amazing to have you guys work tirelessly to ensure that our viewers get this show right on time. Comrade Rashid and the team, many thanks. Well, I'm only a moderator, but also I have an opinion. And my opinion are the words of Samora Machel, who was the Frelimo liberation leader. Samora Machel said that the empowerment of youth and women should not be seen as an act of humanitarian satisfaction, but rather as a deliberate approach towards sustainable development. From us to you, we say bye-bye and see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.